Welcome back to City on a Hill Gaming, a tabletop RPG actual play podcast. To find out more, visit us online at cityonahillgaming.com or follow us on Twitter at cityonahillgame. We hope you enjoy our show. Welcome back to City on a Hill Gaming. I am Bryan. I am not in charge. Tonight Grant is in charge. Dun dun dun. It's actually fine. Grant's been in charge before. We're perfectly okay with that. We have Grant.
Hey.
Peter.
Hello.
Ben.
Hoi hoi.
Okay. Daniel.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I knew someone would do it. And me, Ryan. Hi. Okay, Grant, it's yours now.
Okay. So in our little wrap up and, Wander Years episode, I mentioned Microscope for a Impulse Drive campaign's kind of intro session -1, if you will. And that's what we are doing tonight. Microscope is a role-playing game without characters, or at least not dedicated characters. It is a world-building game, and in many ways, really a 4D world-building game, because we are building a history of a place as well as its geography. And really, its history is what matters more than anything else. So to quickly run through this, what we're going to do is we're going to define a big picture premise statement for this setting. And the setting that we have because we know what we're going to be doing with this setting, we're going to be running a pulpy space fantasy, space opera-y game, sort of like Star Wars or Mass Effect or maybe Firefly, something in that general oeuvre. We want it to be that, right? So we're going to define a big picture premise statement about that setting. And we're going to establish bookends, which are quick descriptions of the start and end of the age of time that we may be playing in, and that define the history of this world that we're creating. We can talk about some basic premises, but we're going to leave this wide open to start with. Then we're going to do the palette, which is basically an add and ban list. In turn order, we're going to go around and everyone will have a chance to add something which usually wouldn't appear in this setting, or ban something that would usually appear in this setting, just based off what we generally know about this sort of world. We're building off common knowledge. We can negotiate about this stuff, we can open stuff up, but these are exceptions based on what we think everyone sort of expects. If you want something to absolutely be here, you list it here. Now, we still have to use it later, but things banned from the setting will never appear. And also, we've already done some safety tool stuff. That stuff we don't need to worry about. It's already off the table. Don't waste a ban on that, okay? On your turn, you don't have to put something in the palette. You can pass, and once one person has passed, we are done. We're going to finish up that round and move on. At which point, we will build out the history. There's a focus, the lead player, called the lens. They're going to define the thing that we are talking about, okay? The lens chooses a focus for this round. And this can be anything, a person, a place, an institution, an event, a period, a concept, whatever. And we go around the table and we add things to our history. And this is sort of a nested, almost outline kind of form. When you add something, you give it a name, you give it 1 or 2 sentences of explanation. If you're doing an event, it needs to be specific. And then you determine whether it is light or dark based on how you think history views that period or that moment in time. It's the tone of that area. We have had things that are nominally like, very bright and successful, like, hey, the city is growing in prosperity, but we do it as a dark tone and, oh, well, it's growing because it's, this imperial expansion, or, because of they're using dark powers to get rich, whatever. Or you can have, well, this is not a good time, but it's got a nice light tone to it. It's hopeful, things are on the upswing, whatever. And then in turn order, each player adds to the history. This is not exactly collaborative. We are letting each player create without interference. If you feel like you need help, however, ask. Okay. And we'll go over all this, just to be clear, we'll be going over this in more detail as we go. But I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're doing. The lens finishes out the focus. They add one more thing. We choose a legacy, something suggested by that round, but not explored. And then we sort of do the whole process again. And then once everyone's been the lens, we say, do we have time to continue? We probably won't tonight. And then we decide when our game will be set. And that's how this works. Microscope is a really fun little role-playing game by Ben Robbins, published in 2011. And it's great. I recommend picking it up. It is small, it's inexpensive, looks great on your bookshelf. Check it out. It's good. All right, so let's start with the big picture. For this entire campaign, I expect to never touch Roll20 or any other virtual tabletop. Everything we are doing is theater of the mind.
Oh, it's so empty in here. Here.
Yeah. Look, my mind palace is a white void, and that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
I used to joke that my mind is like a steel trap. Everything that goes in there gets mangled.
Yeah. All right. So I've got the first page is just a quick walkthrough of what we're going to be doing. Second page is where we will start. And just for the record, I've got light and dark dots so we can mark stuff. Okay. So let's talk big picture. What is the big picture here? We want it to be sci-fi. What kind of sci-fi? In that pulp, we know it wants. We want it to be pulpy and actiony. Ryan was immediately on Star Wars, like he wants to play a Star Wars-y kind of game. So what is our setting? Is this...
Sorry. I would like to avoid this either being at the tail end of or in the middle of a large galactic war, because that's all anyone ever does.
We will...
That may need to come later. I'm not actually sure.
That's later, but it's not a bad thing. Like the palette, we are talking about... the big picture, this is like a one-line description.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, big picture, what are we doing here, right? Single sentence, we want something big, we want a lot of time and space. Like the examples they give are an ancient empire rises and falls. So this is super quick. We're talking, but we're kind of talking about our scale as much as anything else. Are we talking about a city, a planet, a solar system, a sector, a galaxy, the local group? What are we looking at here?
I would suggest no more than a second.
I've got an idea
based on how many times we're going to play this.
Sure.
Potentially.
Yeah. Yep. Ben.
So I was thinking with the going off of the just big picturing, we can narrow it down to sector. But here's my tag: the galaxy has been explored, but there's not enough room for everybody.
Okay. How does everyone feel about that?
We need more galaxy. That's interesting.
We've explored the galaxy. Go ahead, Peter.
I think that might make it real easy to introduce some themes that we'd rather keep off of City on a Hill.
That's true. We don't want to accidentally do a colonialism.
Yeah.
We would prefer not to do a colonialism. That is true. I don't mind the space of like limited resources. Hi, Marshall. But I don't mind the space of limited resources if there is an alternative. Like in Star Wars, there is always, no matter how much of Star Wars you explore, there is always another part of the galaxy that's unchecked, I guess. So if that's the premise of that's what we're dealing with, of like everything is explored, everything is claimed, except for that space over there that no one wants to go into because legend says something awful is there, then yes, I'm just copying the unknown regions from Star Wars, but that's beside the point.
Right.
Okay. I have a suggestion that kind of dovetails off of that. How about a sector that's being explored, not because, later than a lot of things, not because anybody was scared of it, but because some new technology that finally made this area accessible has been developed and gotten into a state where it's safe to use.
Okay. Remember that we're going to be developing an entire history of this area. So we're talking, let's keep this to maybe there's, we're talking about a sector that humanity or civilization is expanding into. Like that's a perfectly good palette statement, but we don't want to define too many details of technologies or possibilities yet, because that comes a little later.
So when you say one sentence, you mean literally one sentence?
I mean literally one sentence.
Okay, then I suggest this is a sector that civilization is expanding into.
Sure. All right, a sector of space that civilization is expanding. Or actually, you know what? Let's take the time out of that. The expansion of civilization into a unknown sector of what? The galaxy? Of a galaxy?
Sure.
It could be
Yeah.
even into a new galaxy. I mean, that doesn't make it so immensely broad that it's crazy.
Galactic
Well, if we want to
space.
keep it smaller, we can do a second, like a spiral arm. We're in this spiral arm,
Well, we can just keep
searching
it,
out the other spiral arms.
sure, galactic space. How's that sound?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And also N unknown. I can grammar.
Close.
All right. Hey, good news. We've done a quarter of the game already, right?
Yay?
Not really, but okay. Bookends. So we've done the palette. Great. That's our statement. So, or we've done the big picture. Sorry. Let's establish some bookends. Quick descriptions of the start and end of the age. And Peter, this is where what you were talking about comes in. We start with maybe the discovery of a technology that allows us to explore this sector.
Like, have we just reached FTL?
Sure, maybe that's it. Maybe the start of our timeline is the discovery of faster than light travel, or development of, or overcoming or maybe extended faster than light travel that allows us to reach beyond the small cluster of stars near us.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that better.
Wormhole technology.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So
yeah, something along
Something
those
along
lines.
those lines, yeah.
Or perhaps even like a wormhole drive or something, you know?
That way we're not stuck in the concept of just like as far as a ship can take you in a defined number of years and it's not that far.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Because
I'm going to
space
say
is
extended
big.
faster than light travel because that does a couple things. First, it leaves open the possibility that maybe we had like little tiny jumps open to us. We could maybe get like 5 to 10 light years at
With
a jump,
relative. Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Something like that. But now we have extended FTL travel, and maybe we've met a few alien species. Maybe they've met us. But now we're expanding it, right? And this is where we start our history.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the start. And that sounds like a light tone to that, right? That sounds good.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it makes sense for if we're leaning towards some form of Ben's original premise.
Sure.
We
All
need
right,
to do
so
more
what's-
things.
So what's the ending bookmark or the bookend here?
And I assume this
It's-
can cover a fair amount of time.
This can cover millennia.
Ooh. Okay.
It can cover millennia. It can cover a year. It doesn't matter. It's just what we want the story to be about.
I feel like we need to.
Okay.
I feel like I'd like to brainstorm this a little bit because I like to think along things of like, logical ends. So if you're starting with like we've just discovered expanded faster than light travel, then what does make a good end point for that we have established some sort of like full network across the galaxy where
I was going to say, like, I think Ben's premise makes sense there, that we have explored the established portion of the known galaxy is now explored.
Sure. But remember, this is just where we want to end things. This could end with humanity is in isolated enclaves and communication between the stars has been lost. This could end with a burgeoning, thriving society of interstellar, settled planets is established.
I want to
an
explore
an
empire
suggestion.
has arisen that's conquered, the known space.
I have
Whatever.
an interesting suggestion. A reliable technology for planetary level speeds. So like think about the internet, faster than light communication across the entirety of interplanetary civilization is discovered and implemented. So like the interstellar internet comes online, basically.
So we go from FTL to FTL, but for actual communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's fine.
Star Trek sublight communication.
Mm-hmm.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Is that where we
Or
want
subspace.
to? So here's the thing: is that where we want to stop the history that we're developing? Because that's what we're talking about.
Well, the reason why I would suggest stopping the history there is because we're going to be using this as an adventure setting, right? So if you've got this space in the middle where we would put our adventures, you've got this kind of like explorers out on the sharp end, cut off from any kind of like instant support, and maybe trying to establish this communications network. You could get a little bit of kind of like a building the railroad kind of a thing there.
Sure could.
Otherwise,
I think we're
you wind up with this whole thing where it's like, well, we're out in the, ABC sector, and this big nasty thing, comes out from behind a planet and starts chasing our starship. Grab the phone and call the cops. It's like,
right. Well, again, there's a lot of room to vary that up, right?
Yeah. Well, and thinking of like the West, it's you can outrun a train theoretically, but you can't outrun the radio or the telegraph. So if we have that having instant communication across the galaxy is a good point. We can't run any faster than that. If we're doing a roguey kind of thing, you get away, but you can't outrun communication. So I think that does seem like a good place for us to end.
I think it's two ends of a spectrum, and it's a spectrum that if you start with literally just breaking extended FTL all the way to this, like the distinction in, like if you go like the difference between how long it takes for me to send a message to someone in England now versus how long it took when you had to do it by boat and not the kind with a steam engine. Like it's a significant portion of time.
Yeah, it's the reason why I suggested the communication frontier. The communication thing is that's the point at which the frontier stops being the frontier.
And that if we're continuing with the Western analogy, like that's kind of when the West and the myth of the West ended. I can't count the number of movies that the West ends with.
Well, we got there.
Trains being built and passing through towns, and now
I see what you're saying.
The East catches up to the West.
Forward, so just to move things forward, how about this? The establishment of Galcom, Galactic Communications, whatever we can finalize some names later, ends the era of unfettered exploration.
Sure.
I'm going to suggest we make that a down note. We give that a dark tone, because that's probably a good thing for everyone, but in terms of the tone of our setting, we lose that exploration, we lose that freedom. It's all settled and civilized and boring.
It's everything in X-Files. Every episode of X-Files would have lasted 5 minutes if they had cell phones, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So I think that idea of, and now things are prosaic again.
Well, and presumably some giant company owns it.
Yeah, well, I'm saying Galcom.
And that's what I'm saying. Like
that,
you can put that as a darker note if you put it like under the auspices of just one group.
Sure. Yeah.
That tends to make it a darker.
Or not thing. Warhammer. BattleTech, right? Has some of those similar vibes, and I think that's fine.
Even like Firefly.
Firefly, sure.
Yes.
Yep. That whole "you can't take the sky from me" motif of I want to be out here and exploring, and the exploring is the great part of it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So good news. We've done the bookends. We've done the big picture. Now it's palette time. See, we're moving right along. So this is our add ban list. So in turn order, we're going to go around and everyone will have a chance to add something, which again, usually wouldn't appear in this setting, or ban something that usually would appear. You can negotiate this stuff. This is, and I say this is the stuff, if you put it in ad, this is like, guys, I really want this to feature heavily if we use it. Okay. So for example, do you guys mind if I go first just to give us an example to work off of?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. I would like to add robots.
Yep.
Because I want lots and lots of robots. And this is partly a metagame thing, because Impulse Drive can be a very actiony game, and I feel like shooting robots is a lot more fun and also within the tone of City on a Hill than shooting people.
Sure.
And it's very pulpy and actiony, but also
Getting your Samurai Jack on a bit here, are you, Grant?
Or Voltron, or
Power Rangers.
Any
No,
of
it's a good
those.
thought.
Yeah, no,
And,
I'm here.
you know, like you said, I don't want this to turn into a huge digression, but
Yeah, but that's
a good
the
thought.
idea is if we're shooting robots that or actually the original Battlestar Galactica and those Cylons, right?
Oh,
Right.
Where they're just,
just-
with tin cans.
They're tin cans.
They're called tin
Great.
cans for a reason. They're just
It's Skynet.
yeah.
Skynet, even episode 1 stupid,
Battle droids.
Roger battle droids.
Yeah.
Right?
Roger.
That they're great mooks to beat up. But
Yes.
also that says a lot about our setting. Not a lot of living things, a lot of robots. All right. I'm going to go just kind of based on the order I see in Zoom. So, Ben, you can add or ban.
I got an ad, and this is for Bryan. Anthropomorphic animals species.
Yay.
Are these uplifted Earth species or species that just from the rest of the galaxy that just sort of happen to be like Earth animals?
I would say seeded Earth animals. Yes.
I like this theory. Honestly, we could do a weird one where it's like in reverse, that a lot of the animals we have on Earth kind of have the imprints of their DNA from these other sentient species.
Yeah, that's what I mean by seeded.
Yeah,
That,
I was
like
gonna
they
say,
were seeded here.
Explain seeded to me.
So like it's the concept that it's the intelligent design concept of Earth, that we are all been DNA seeded by some intelligent alien millions of years ago, yada yada yada. So all of the things that we have, all of the animals that we have, DNA come from other species. We just have this
The basic version.
dumbed down version. Yeah.
the simplified
Interesting.
version.
Okay.
Star
So
Trek.
that gives us intelligent corgis. And
So somewhere you have Magic the Gathering's Loxodons, but all we have are elephants.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's because somewhere along the way,
Interesting.
something took aliens, turned them into species that could grow into something real, or turn them into a intelligent anthropomorphic species, and put them down somewhere else. And we met them and went, huh,
That's interesting.
elephant people.
Yeah. And
All
that
right.
also makes for easy storytelling too, because then you don't have to describe. You
Yeah.
just say, these are elephant people, and everyone goes,
Right.
oh.
And we have the wonderful out of aliens did it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Saved it. Good. Love it.
Good.
All right, cool.
Ad.
Peter.
I have a ban.
Shoot.
Space opera style goofy energy weapons.
Oh, that's fine.
So no like
was gonna say laser
blasters or
swords.
phasers or that sort of thing. If you want to use like electro lasers or something where you've got more of like a hard sci-fi description where you've got a laser that ionizes a trail and then a high voltage current goes through there, cool. But
So this
no
isn't
pew-pew
just
energy weapons.
this isn't just no lightsabers. This is like also no blaster rifles.
So,
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
so if
Interesting.
I'm understanding right, you'd want to stick to, if we use guns or something like Gauss rifles or something that's.
Or like
I mean-
phasers based on legitimate scientific technology.
Let me be a little more explicit about this.
'Cause I'm a
About
little
Mass Effect
confused.
level of weapons technology.
I
Don't understand
So
enough
you've
about
got
Mass
actual-
Effect, to be honest.
Okay, you've got actual projectiles most of the time. Your energy weapons are a bit more grounded, etc.
Okay, so a little, I may be reaching here, a little more Overwatch, where
Yeah,
like there's still
perhaps.
some pew pew, but it's like more science based pew pew and less lasers come out of it. Don't ask questions.
Well, and also like the idea of like these weird like rods of energy that you can see coming out of ranged weapons. You know that they
sure.
move slowly enough where you can watch them
Discernible
track across the
colors,
screen and stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. The good guys shoot the red lasers. The bad guys shoot the green lasers. and I can
Yeah.
watch them pew pew across my screen at 30 frames a
No
second.
GI Joe
Right.
weapons.
Okay, got it.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm. Yeah.
That's fine.
Interesting. All right.
I gotcha. All right,
Interesting.
Ryan.
I don't want to deal with a galactic civil war. I'm over it.
Okay.
I don't.
I like that.
I
It's refreshing.
love it, but there's just no one has anything else anymore.
True that.
No, I'm with you on that one. Actually,
That's I'm good. I don't know what that leaves, but I guess we'll
Corporate
figure that out.
expansion.
tons of things.
Yeah, more exploration.
Oh yeah,
probably.
there's plenty.
Don't
There's
even
plenty of
worry
stuff.
about
it.
Again, there's pirates. There's corporate stuff. There's
Yeah.
there may be local civil wars, but
Oh,
there's
sure,
no
sure, sure,
giant
sure.
galactic civil war.
I'm not
I'm here.
facing two
I mean-
factions where just everybody's shooting lasers
What-
all the time.
Yeah, what's left is the first 4 hours of any Stellaris campaign. There's plenty. We'll be fine.
yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, Daniel.
Huh.
All right. I think just because I always find this really confusing when it happens in sci-fi, I, with one notable exception, but I'd just like to put a ban on time travel shenanigans.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we just
not a problem.
especially in what is going to be, because I don't know if we've said this, an ostensibly shorter campaign.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
We don't need to do a whole lot of jumping.
Knock on wood. 3 sessions.
Definitely don't need to do any jumping then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 sessions. That
And
should
that's
be
fine, but this is
6
also about what
episodes.
This is not about the game that we're going to play as much as the setting. We now know that time travel has not affected our history. That nobody's
Right.
built a time machine in our setting and done stuff. Great.
Yeah, and that also cuts off some galactic civil war started because someone went back in time and changed it, and now they're
Yeah,
in
yeah.
charge.
Well, and it also
Absolutely.
leaves room for
Yeah,
more
I-
consequences
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
and less retconning.
Okay. My next ad is going to be psionics.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh. Okay.
First, I think any good space opera has a little bit of weird in it. Second, the impulse drive rules support some weird. There are some playbooks that lean on that. You don't have to play them, but I want to open that up. And third, I really love the old E.E. Cummings Linsman books. And that's a super deep cut for a lot of people I know, but this is this is what the Green Lantern stories were based on.
I have the GURPS book that was licensed from that series.
Yeah. And I love those sorts of psionics. And so I like psionics as an alternative, something, like the Force or magic. It's got a little bit of a more science-y sort of theme that, 30s to 70s sci-fi. But it gives us some room for funky, weird stuff. All right, back to Ben.
Be in the ad category, something along the lines of, if not specifically, like elder civilization, or just
Precursors.
a very, very technological developments among civilizations.
Delve
So we're
into
not
that a
all
little
running on the
more.
same playing field. Do
Okay.
what?
Okay, so are there alien species that predate the expansion into this sector?
Yeah, so like you'd have some that have some species or whatever who were spacefaring before humanity. Some are local spacefaring, like say us in the 50s, 60s,
Mhm.
but not necessarily us 100 years from now.
Mhm.
So we have varied levels of technological advancement.
Not everyone is extended FTL.
Right. We're not. It's not Star Wars where we're all playing on the same technological playing field.
Unless you're just like a deeply backwater planet without. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So like we might come across a race of aliens that they can get to their moon, but they haven't figured out the FTL thing yet.
Sure, and that's a very Star Trek kind of thing. And I love also somewhat Stellaris, as Peter mentioned. That works. But yeah, I like that idea that we have. And does this encompass aliens more advanced than the society that our player characters are going to be interacting with or whatever?
Yes, because that's one of the things I love with current book series I'm reading, X-Force, but also like Mass Effect, where a lot of the technology that is discovered is more advanced than what we have, and so it's that's a puzzle we have to figure out in the process.
Okay, so cool. And again, we're talking about. I said our characters. Ignore that. We're talking about the palette that we're working with for Microscope.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
There are relics that are higher advanced than the things that we're using.
Right. So, and I like the idea that cuts both ways. Peter.
Okay, so I've got an ad. Artificial gravity that was discovered before the FTL technology and is therefore incredibly mature and reliable. I do not want to deal with the whole, like, we're always floating around in the space station
thing. No,
okay.
No floating juices all the time.
That's fine.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
All right, cool. Ryan?
This is not a space shuttle to the moon.
Yeah.
Can I clarify? Can we go back to one of them and clarify something Ben said?
Mm-hmm.
I like the technological advancement, but he said something specifically about it sort of being like in an artifact state, so that it's actually quite old, and I like that specifically.
Okay, well, I tell you what. Why don't we change this to alien artifacts?
Does
that sound
like Mass Effect style,
like advanced technology artifacts?
Right.
Yeah. I like it specifically being something that is not only beyond us, but much older than us.
Okay. Remember, this is stuff that's going to affect our timeline for this entire area. This has nothing to do with our characters necessarily.
That's true.
It might, but it may be that we find that we, as in this society that's expanding out in this timeline, they find stuff and that has effects. Great. Okay. Cool. So advanced alien artifacts.
Right.
And artifacts implies that this is just shorthand. Artifacts here implies, hey, we found these. Cool.
Whatever they are, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So Ryan, what's your palette addition? Add or ban?
I want to do an ad. You said something very early on when we were discussing big picture. And now my mind has gone completely blank, but I really liked the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Something about like extended colonies that are now shut off. Like are now, like, people have gone out and have now like shut themselves off from the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, I think that was proposed as like a possible bookend.
I like that idea of just something that exists.
Okay, so
that there are extended colonies who are not necessarily any longer interested in expansion and advancement,
like Stargate style.
Or I was gonna say if we're
I don't know enough about Stargate, to be honest. All I've seen is like 3 episodes of Universe.
So like imagine like in America, if explorers went out west and just decided they liked it better and lived there instead of trying to like
intentionally cut off,
ties.
Not technologically devoid cut off.
Right. So pockets of isolated insular societies.
Intentional ones, yes.
Right. Well, that's what I mean by insular. They're withdrawn, internally focused. They don't care about the rest of the galaxy.
Right.
They got FTL and decided that we're gonna go make a clubhouse over here.
Right.
And
that's a very Star Trek thing, and I'm cool with that.
No, anyone else is allowed.
Yep. Daniel.
Okay, so I don't know if this is an ad or a ban. I'm gonna float an idea.
Okay.
How do we feel about terraforming? So finding a planet and shaping it to suit the needs of humans, so we can survive there.
I suppose from a broader city on a hill standpoint, as long as that doesn't take the form of doing a bad colonizational thing. If you're finding just like blank, useless planets that aren't inhabited and then flipping them through science, like, that's cool. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like Mars.
I will say, I like the idea of banning that because I like colonies living on the edge. I think that's interesting and exciting. It's people struggling to get by. I think that creates conflict.
Can I suggest
dome societies?
Hang on. Can I suggest a third option?
Sure.
There is some technological advance in that area, but it's in its infancy. So you can colonize some of these hostile worlds, like for instance a Mars or something like that, but it's never going to not be difficult.
Okay,
Like
so
it will always kind of suck on some level.
so imperfect terraforming.
You can't
yeah,
just
or I would say brand new, honestly. Like it's a technology.
Well, again,
in
we're
its
talking
first
about
couple of decades.
we're talking about millennia of potential timelines here, right? So I like the idea of imperfect, just as we know that in terms of the narrative we're creating, it's never going to be great.
like sure you can make it habitable, but it's not like you're going to drop a robot off and come back 2 weeks later and you have something that vaguely resembles Earth and is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No
think
issues.
from like a
Interesting.
if we get into like space ethics, it's like you're not ever going to like cause an extinction level event on a planet, because then you wouldn't be terraforming it.
Right. But we might
Right.
be able to warm it up. We might be able to make this atmosphere breathable with a respirator.
Or give it an actual atmosphere.
Yeah, give it
Sure.
enough of a magnetosphere that we don't immediately die when we walk outside, that sort of thing.
Some kind of shielding that prevents planets too close to stars from being uninhabitable because
Yeah, but
too hot.
It's never going to be super comfortable unless there's something really funky going on. I'm cool with that.
All right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that, because
All right.
that'll also let us.
It
skirt
gives a
some of the
little bit
things.
of yes without just like flip
Well,
a switch and everything's done.
And I think it opens up some cool some cool scenarios, like, hey, what's it like if we partly terraform Mercury? Okay.
Well,
That's
the
a
other
place.
thing too is it's like, it also kind of like redefines the idea of a good planet,
Yes.
because that would make something like, for instance, Hoth from the second Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
like
Hoth,
a dream come true to find, like, yeah, it's a frozen snowball, but it's got water and a breathable atmosphere. you
right.
know?
We
Yeah.
can
That's
use
something
this.
you fight over.
There's so
absolutely.
few things we're
Yeah.
going to have to do to this.
There's
I like that.
I
All
love
right.
the idea of like
lots and lots of warm
biodomes.
clothing, so much.
or like Ben said, biodomes.
Yeah,
that kind of
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
But
And I-
biodomes that are going to need maintenance.
And I like
Um,
the idea that technology, while where there are huge advancements across the timeline, it's distinctively not solved.
Yeah.
Science can't just do oops everything. Because I think that
I'm
makes
really
it
trying
kind
to
of
avoid
boring.
Star Trek here.
Well,
Yeah, I think that is just fine. Let's see, bands. I'm trying to think of a band here. I'm struggling. I will, just as a reminder, as soon as one person passes, we finish out the round and we move on. Okay. So
okay, I would like to, and this
Mhm.
may be more of a lines and veils thing. It probably is. If we're gonna have space pirates, which I'm all about space pirates, I'd like it to be a little more for the money and without all of the other actual stuff that pirates did.
sure, that's a lines and veils.
Okay, yeah. As long as
That doesn't need to go in here.
as long as we're not going, pirates are fun. No, they aren't.
More Jack Sparrow, less Blackbeard.
Yes, please.
I can get behind that.
More How to Train Your Dragon and less actual Vikings.
All right. I'm actually going to pass here. I'm having huge trouble thinking of anything else to add.
I feel like there's something else, but I don't know. Yeah.
I've got one.
I've got a couple
Okay.
of things.
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap this round up and then move on. And again, as a reminder, this is not limiting. The bands these are out. The palette is stuff that we need to use in order for it to be in here. Okay. But I'm gonna go ahead. But
I do have at least one other thing that I would really like to ban.
well, good news. Good news. We're gonna do Ben and then we're gonna do you.
Teleportation
Yes or no?
ban.
Okay.
No, beam me up, Scotty.
If we're fringing FTL, yeah, beam me up, Scotty's probably a bit unnecessary.
That's fine. All right, Peter.
Some horrible, powerful, like godlike genocidal thing, Reapers or Skynet or whatever. Ban.
Uh,
Don't
No
wanna deal with
Galactus.
it. No Galactus, no Reapers, no Tyranids, just blah.
All right, so no overweening galactic terror. Got it.
Yeah.
All right, no Civil Wars, no Galactic Terrors.
Ryan?
We're really killing the Star Wars expanded universe here. No, that's
As we should.
Yeah, probably. There's some parts of that didn't need to go. So help me
Look
if
at
you
you,
crush
Kevin J. Anderson.
If you crush Chewbacca with one more planet, someone's catching these hands.
Hey, that's my favorite death in the entire.
That's very
universe.
fair. I don't.
In fairness,
mind that.
I liked his dad's response of, like, "What do you mean? My son died to a moon. My son was too strong to die to a simple moon."
Exactly.
I read that
Respect
and I
that.
said, "This is the only way you can kill Chewie. The
Yeah.
only way I'll
And I
allow
can
it."
live with that. Yes, that's
Yeah.
such a
All
weird thing to do, though. I think I'm good.
Okay, a pass. And Daniel?
I'm thinking that there might be one more thing to add, but
I've got at least one more ad too.
yeah, let me think. Okay. I've got an ad. Can we have a universal translator?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Great.
Especially for the ease of a short game, that just seems helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that seems like just doing future us a favor.
Yeah.
Do we want a universal translator or universal translation where, like, people speak their own languages, but we all kind of manage to understand somehow?
I'm okay with it being like everyone speaks their own language and it's technological.
Cool. We'll figure that out,
I'm okay
whatever
with
that
that.
is. But that communication is not a huge barrier. Got it.
Something along those lines.
Cool. All right. Normally, we would say, all right, we've hit the end of this loop around the table. We'll move on. But Peter, you seem super interested in one last thing. What is it?
Large
Quick,
structures
are we adding or
built
banning?
in space. Adding.
Okay.
Large structures built in space. So large, like, space stations, not necessarily around any kind of a celestial body or anything like that. Think like the Citadel from Mass Effect.
So just big floating things. Public Works.
The Halos or
Okay.
Cloud City. That
Yeah,
kind
or
of
the
thing.
mass relays. Or
Now,
that sort of thing.
notably, when we
Interesting.
describe it like this could be built by us. It could be built by other people. It could be stuff we found. We're going to leave that open because that might be something that develops over time. But this setting includes or can include these big megastructures.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we're going to wrap up the palette here.
Thanks for listening to City on the Hill Gaming. If you'd like to hear more episodes, find us online at cityonthehillgaming.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at City on the Hill Game, on Instagram at City on the Hill Gaming. You can also find us on YouTube or Twitch by searching for City on the Hill Gaming. If you'd like to send us an email, you can find us at cityonthehillgaming@gmail.com. If you want to hear more from the Saving the Game folks, find them at stgcast.org for their backlog of episodes. And we're also on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/cityonthehillgaming. Thanks as always to all of our Patreon backers, Grizzly Rich, JD, Bryan, Sir Lord Epic Name, Andrew and Christina, and Tony. Thank you guys for all you do to support the show. We love you, and we appreciate all of your help. Thank you for listening, and have a blessed day.
Ryan, when you're ready, if you want to do a sound check, we can. I've got a very quick one.
Okay. Yes, we will. Sound check time. Daniel, go.
I didn't look anything up. This is my sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have checked the sound. Grant, go.
Chevrony of 8 argent and vert on a chief champagne gules, 3 stars argent, a hand inverted sable. That's the blazon, the heraldic blazon of my character's coat of arms in Peter's D&D, A5E game that is starting up here in just a second.
Nice. Ben, go.
Everyone's favorite mic check. Test 1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6. Peter, your turn.
Good evening. I don't have anything exciting either, but this should be more than enough for you to check the sound.
Hey, look, levels. The thing I don't normally check during sound check. Grant, my only question during sound check is how do I be this corgi thing on the front of the RPG book we're looking at?
Are you looking at Impulse Drive?
I am.
Okay. We'll talk about Impulse Drive next time.
But corgis. Okay, let's go.
Oh, I'm not saying you can't be a corgi. I'm
But
just saying we'll
corgis.
talk about it next time.
That's fine.